Hi guys, Paul Michaels from Real Dog Training. So a long line is my most important part of training equipment. So we're making this video to show you what they are, how I make them, and some really key points on using them. So I use 4mm nylon cord. Now all we do to make our long line is fold the end over like that and tie one simple overhand knot like that. Pull it up nice and tight. So all our long line is a 7-meter length of 4mm nylon cord with one loop in the end like that, and no other knots or joins. And the other end is like that with no loops or anything in it. Now, the way we use it is we just loop the long line back through itself on that loop, like that, and then that's what goes around the dog's neck. And now, when we give that a check or stand on it, it pulls up tight, and when we release it, it goes loose again. And that's the basic idea. So, I've actually experimented with lots of thickness cord, and I've found 4mm is the best by far. 4mm is just light enough so that when we do check the dog, it does give that tightening sensation around the neck with nice light checks. I don't have to pull really hard to get the dog's attention. Any lighter than that, and I feel like it's starting to get a bit harsh around the dog's neck, and any heavier than 4mm cord, and we just have to start pulling harder and harder to have the same effect. One of the main reasons I use nylon cord instead of a check chain is I don't like that sound of the rattling and the heavy chain around the dog's neck, and I don't like it pulling around a big heavy rope, or you see some long lines are a wide strap. It's all too heavy. This is nice and light. It's not noticeable for the dog, and when we come to the stage of training, when we're transitioning off the long line, we can take it on and off the dog, and it's less noticeable, and everything just works a lot better. So that's it. 7-meter long piece of 4mm long line with one loop tied in the end like that. So I've just got the long line tied around the railing of the deck here, and I want to demonstrate some key points to using a long line correctly. So the golden rule to using a long line is always keep the long line slack and never let the dog pull up all the tension and bring tension on the long line and hold tension there. All your corrections must come from a slack long line, so your corrections are just like that. It's just a sharp jolt to snap the dog out of whatever it's doing, get its attention, stop it from moving forward, pull its mental focus and attention off something you don't want it focusing on. What happens when a lead pulls up tight? It's a real dog psychology thing that when a lead pulls up tight like that, let's say there's another dog in the distance over that way, and you're at a park and you're walking your dog on a nice slack leash, and the dog sees that distraction, the other dog, and it starts pulling away, so it gets further away from you, and the tension comes up on that leash, and you hold that tension and keep it there. What happens with that is the more you pull back and the more the dog leans forward with that tension on its neck, the more tension there is there and the harder it's pushing forward, the more the dog's energy and focus builds in that direction. And the harder you pull, the harder the dog will pull back, and the more everything escalates. And you do that over and over again in certain situations, and you're actually training your dog to escalate energy and focus at that distraction you're actually trying to pull it away from. So what you've got to do is go from a slack lead, and you've got to be watching your dog and check it before the lead comes up tight. So you're watching your dog, you see the distraction. As soon as the dog starts moving away, it's a check like that which snaps you. It's got to be hard enough to pull your dog's attention away from whatever it was looking at, and it'll also check the dog back. And if the dog tries to bounce forward again, you hit it again. And as soon as you check it, it's back to a slack leash. So your corrections are just like that. Another really important aspect of this is when you check a dog with the long line. If you're trying to correct a dog on a tense, on a tight leash, and you hold that pressure on, that pressure's staying on. So there's nothing to mark the fact that the dog is doing anything correct, doing anything right. When you check a dog properly from a slack long line, and you check it once and go straight back slack, that check should be hard enough to get the dog's attention, pull it away from the thing you don't want it focusing on, and looking back to you, with focus back on you. So as soon as you do that check and it snaps it out of it, it's very important that the pressure comes back off the long line. So now that the dog's doing the right thing, there's no pressure on it. That releasing of the pressure marks the fact that the dog's now doing the right thing. Holding pressure on, you'll see a lot of people pulling their dogs back, and they pull them back into them like that, and the dog's at their side, but the person's still tense. They're still holding pressure on the long line, so the dog's still under pressure. So there's nothing to tell the dog it's doing the right thing. So really important, always slack long line. Your corrections are good sharp hits that get your dog's attention, and the long line goes slack straight away afterwards. And all this counts for your standard leash as well. This is the correct way to use a leash and a long line. So another very important aspect of using a long line correctly is always keeping a belly of slack in the long line while the dog's walking around, and never using it like this with the long line up off the ground. A standard lead that you would use in town, keeping a dog on a short lead, you can keep the lead off the ground, but always keep slacking it like that. A long line, when we're using it in the way we're using it during the deer dog training blueprint, we're teaching a dog stops, and we're teaching him range and using non-communicative training with the long line. You always keep the long line on the ground, dragging like that with a nice belly in the long line, like that. I never want to pull up tight, because here, print, good boy. Because when we're using a long line to teach range and teach a stop, as soon as that long line comes up off the ground and has tension in it, the dog is keeping track of where we are and monitoring his own range through the long line. So we're actually not teaching him anything about how to watch us and listen to commands properly when we've got any tension on the long line. If we always keep it on the ground and dragging, then the only way Print can keep track of where we are and monitor his range, and which enables us to actually train a proper range that the dog monitors himself. See that? Even there, as soon as he pulled out to the end of the long line and felt that little bit of tension, he turned around and looked back. So that's him monitoring his range from us through the long line. So it's very important when using the proper techniques that we're going over in the blueprint to always keep the belly of slack in the line like that. That way, the only way Print can keep track of where we are is by actually keeping us in his peripheral vision, looking back, using his hearing, and using all the tools that we're going to need him to use to actually have a proper range and his stops and turns and everything set up properly, all off the long line later on. If we always have tension on the long line, we're teaching the dog nothing. We're teaching him how long a piece of string is. So that's about it. That's some real key elements to a long line, what it is, how to make one, and the real fundamentals on using them properly. So we're making a full deer dog training blueprint. It's 15 hours of full demonstration video tutorials showing everything on how we're training a deer dog from start to finish. Links in the descriptions below, and follow us on Facebook, Real Dog Training on Facebook, and also Real Dog Training on YouTube for more videos like this.